Hello, everybody. This is Arthur Mills with Candleface Chronicles. This is my third episode, so I'm still trying to learn this program here, and I'm here with Stacey, viewer expert.
Yeah, how's it going tonight?
I'm doing very fine, and I said expert, but I've learned that a lot of people in the paranormal realm doesn't like the word expert. Are you one of those?
Yeah, well, I've been called expert on, a lot of things with the paranormal, with remote viewing, hoodoo, and conjure. I'm actually a Palo Mayombe priest, so I mean that actually kind of qualifies as an expert in that realm.
Yeah.
But the first time I was called an expert was on Monsters and Mysteries on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
And they called me an expert, and I just that doesn't, because there were other people that were more knowledgeable than me, and they were pulling me in as being an expert on the thing that I talk about the most anyway. But it felt weird.
Yeah. I think it was around 2011. I got a call from this is the Discovery Channel saying that they liked my first book, The Empty Lot Next Door, my memoir that starts off Candleface, and they said that they would like my book to be turned into an episode on what is it called, Haunted or something on, and they reviewed it, and I was all excited. I was like, okay, I'm going to have my own episode. But what happened is they ended up going against it because they said that The Empty Lot Next Door had too much young adult things to it. There was too much emphasis on things that weren't necessarily true. And that was one of the main reasons back in October last year, I redid The Empty Lot Next Door into a second edition, and I got rid of all of the young adult aspects of it. So I ended up getting rid of about 35 pages of young adult things, which was mostly my brother Ricky's dreams. He had all sorts of things about going off to different worlds and talking to Griffin, his imaginary friend. So I got rid of all that stuff and made The Empty Lot Next Door second edition a true horror novel.
Yeah, I talked to him about something similar, and that's the same reason they didn't go with it. I didn't have a book, but I was working with the Find Me people at the time, and we were looking for missing people and missing kids. My passion was the missing kids because, the whole idea of human trafficking and the things that were going on, they're still going on, if not worse. But the amount of children that just would go missing, I was going into those cases, and I wanted to do a show on that, an episode. And while they were talking to me about Monsters and Mysteries, they went over the same thing. That wasn't TV friendly, according to, the producers,
Yeah. Yeah. I did missing persons cases when I was a private investigator out of Washington State. And the first place I would look is in all of the homeless camps all throughout Olympia. That was where I would find them. I was never good. I had other people that would dress me up to look homeless. They saw right through that. I could never do it. Right when they see me, they think I'm a cop or something, and then they would split.
It's the gate.
Yeah, they knew that they all know each other. But I end up just paying other homeless people to go do it for me, and then so they knew who I wanted to go find, and they go find them for me. But anyway, I have a really good show today. I'm going to discuss victim number 2. And it's going to be who this spirit was that came to me. And I want to read the testimony, and then I want to get into who I think she is. I had a caller, somebody I actually knew from Washington State, a fellow private investigator that watched a podcast that I was talking about this particular case. And he says, hey, I think it's this girl. And so we did some research, and we came to the conclusion that we think we know who this person is. But before I do that, what I want to do is go over a little bit of, let's see, right here. Um, Talk a little bit about my latest victim 35, that just happened about 4 days ago. And this was very, very bizarre, this whole case. And it was just 2 days after you and I had our podcast. And you
Nice.
know that I need to spend more attention on the spirits. Like, what are they wearing? What's their appearance? Do you remember that? You were telling me I need to concentrate on that. So on June 30th, I had a white male, like in his mid-20s, with long, unkept hair, blonde hair, come out of the portals, what I've been calling it. And he wore a dark T-shirt, and he had a single word written above an indistinct image. I tried to pay attention to it, but I felt like a creep staring at his chest. Like maybe there's a female, and you want to read what her shirt says, but you feel weird doing that.
Yeah.
So
They do that on purpose, by the way.
yeah. He mentioned that he was in a heavy metal band with 3 other people, and that their drummer created reverse tracks in their music to praise Candleface, and along with subliminal messages hidden within the music. And this is what he's telling me. And
Wow.
and he says that the idea was to increase their audience, but not necessarily for their sake, but to gather more followers for Candleface. And if you play it backwards, I remember in the 70s and 80s, you play your record backwards and it will come up with different things, or messages. And he says if you play it backwards, there would be additional messages and a list of names that followers are required to kill. So these are people who made fun of Candleface, I'm assuming, because that's how it has gone previously. And the followers will, when they figure out, when you play it backwards, there's names, and then you go after those names. And he says that his name was Dave. And this is the 3rd of 35 victims where they're using their names now. The interesting part that really drives me nuts is that he likely was killed in a house in Luling, Texas, which is, I guess, somewhat rough between Austin and Houston, I guess. More on the Austin side. And I've had 2 other victims, at least 2 other victims that I know of, that were also killed in that same house. And of course, he doesn't say, hey, I'm the 3rd one in this house, but he alludes to it when he talks about Candleface meets him there and says, I'm going to put you under the floorboards. And that was the same thing that happened with the other 2.
That's interesting.
So Luling, Texas is right there. It's pretty hard to see, but it's right on Highway 10 between San Antonio and Houston. This is an interesting case because Jason Landry is like a household name in Texas as a missing person. And he went missing when he was driving from San Marcos to Houston during the Christmas season to visit his family. And he just went missing. And then they found his vehicle in Luling off a dirt road named Salt Flat Road. And his car was there with the lights on and engine on, and some blood on a barbed wire fence, and clothes spread out. And that's it. They just can't find them. And there are some sporadic houses on this dirt road. One of the victims, I believe it's victim 27, I believe is this Jason Landry. I never wrote about it. Actually, I have it written. I just haven't posted it yet on my journal because I think there is a paranormal investigator, and I'm not going to give you his name yet because I'm trying to get a hold of him and let him know I think you're the answer to this case and maybe to this house, because Candleface has mentioned some riddles that this particular paranormal investigator has mentioned as well.
Wow.
So I think and this paranormal investigator, I don't know if he's dodging me because he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, or maybe he is just so busy, like so many other people. He has his own podcast. He has his own things to do, and that could be the case too. But I don't want to continue with this particular case, Jason Landry, until I get with him and get his permission, maybe get him on the podcast and we can work something together. Because I think he is the key to maybe not just this Jason Landry, but the other, all three victims that's associated with this house on Salt Flat Road in Lowling, Texas. All right. So now let me get into the meat of today's podcast.
Before you move on to that, I just wanted to say that Luling, Texas has a lot of weird shit going on with it. 10 years ago, actually, 10 years ago, two of the cases that I was working on for finding missing kids came out of Luling. There was, one of them was a little girl and the other one was a teenager who, they suspect ran away, but she didn't. She died. They just haven't found her yet. But she was trafficked out of Luling and went to I lost her in California. So Luling is I don't know what's going on with it, but it has a lot of weird stuff that people just up and disappear.
To my understanding, back in the Western days, Luling was the place where there was a lot of fights. You only went to Luling if you wanted to have a gunfight. That's to my understanding. So I think the history of weird things going on in Luling has been going on longer than what we know. I mean, it could be going back 150, 200 years, whatever, a long time. And so I think we need to start looking more into Luling and this Salt Flat Road. I would like to soon actually go on location and do a live podcast walking down the road. Me and an army, maybe.
I was going to say, I wouldn't do it alone.
All right. So victim number 2. This was the second one that came to me. And this was doesn't mean that she's the second victim of Candleface. This is just the second one that came to me. It's just 2 short pages. So I'll read this for those that didn't do their homework and read it off the journal. This testimony came to me, or that this spirit came to me on November 17th of last year. And she says to me, I remember the day I last saw my mama. I was playing outside our mobile home and it was really, really cold. The wind was like whoosh on my cheeks, but the sky was all blue and the sun was low. I sat there all wrapped in my cozy winter coat, playing with my teddy bear that my granny made for me. My teddy was dirty and fuzzy, but I loved it so much. Then I saw some big kids playing near our mobile home. They were in a circle, and one of them, a big boy with nappy hair, was telling a spooky story. He said that there was a girl ghost around here who died in a fire, and now she's a ghost who scares kids who don't believe in her. The other kids were listening, all wide-eyed and excited, even the tough ones. But my mama didn't like those stories. She came out of our home all fast and waved her hands like she was mad. Stop scaring my baby girl with those stories, she says. One of the ladies with the kids said maybe we should believe just in case, which is the second time that I've heard that same same phrase. But Mama was like, nope, my baby girl won't believe in silly stuff like that. After Mama helped me brush my teeth that night, or at night, she tucked me into bed with my teddy. I felt safe and warm under the covers. Mama leaned in close and said, those ghost stories aren't real, sweetie. Grown-ups sometimes make them up to make kids behave. I believed her because Mama knows everything. And I can't see because there's something blocking that. But that night, something weird happened. I felt hot and heard a sizzling sound like bacon in a frying pan. My heart went boom, boom really fast. Something hot picked me up and it smelled bad like burnt cookies. I wanted to scream for Mama, but I couldn't. I was so scared. Then Mama appeared. She was strong and loving and she held me tight. She said it was just a bad dream and not real. I cried and told her about the ghost girl, but Mama said those stories can't hurt good girls who don't believe in them. Her words were like a cozy song, and I fell asleep without any more bad dreams. The next day, I heard a little cry from while swinging on our swing in front of our mobile home. Mama was inside next to the window to keep an eye on me. I heard some noise coming from some bushes. My heart raced with curiosity and worry. When Mama moved away from the window, I went back. I found not a hurt puppy like I had hoped, but a girl. Her skin was all burned and her clothes were torn. She looked really sad. I wanted to scream and run to Mama, but I couldn't. I was too scared. I don't remember much after that, but I'm not with Mama and Granny anymore. I'm in a strange place with other kids and adults who had tough times too. I'm really scared here. I don't like it. I wish I could hug Mama and Granny one more. My slide master is blocking almost that whole last paragraph there. But she's maybe you can find them one day and let them know I miss them. Let them know that I carry their love with me, even in this terrible place. So that is the gist. Of course, this is the second victim that came to me. So I added some words here and there, but this is by far the main gist of what she was portraying to me. So what do we know? We know the setting, well, it is at least likely Austin, because all 35 victims are from Central Texas. It happened in the winter because she mentioned that it was really, really cold, and she was wrapped up in her cozy winter coat while the kids were given the spooky stories. And she mentioned a mobile home. So likely lived in a mobile home park. If you're in the city somewhere, it's going to be a mobile home park. You just don't have one mobile home unless you're out in the country. Then you could. But I'm making the assumption it's more in the city because there's a bunch of other kids telling spooky stories afterwards. The victim appeared to me to be 4 or 5 years old. Still couldn't really see much more than a shadow, some figures, some features. She appeared to be a little black girl. Hair was short and braids. They could be colorful. To me, they just seem more grayish, but it could just be because of the shadows, because I really couldn't make more of it. I've never seen anybody just wear gray beads. She called her mother Mama and her grandmother Granny. I think those are pretty good hints. I know growing up, I called my mother Ma, and my father Paul. Ma and Paul and Grandma and Grandpa. Mm-hmm. She says that she had a teddy bear that her granny made for her. Another pretty good hint. And last seen playing on a swing in front of the. So the question is there a Candleface connection? Local kids mentioned a girl ghost who died in a fire around here. So girl ghost, could that be Candleface? But it could be anybody. I mean, The Exorcist. It seems like most stories of ghosts seems to be female. So, but she says the kid said around here. So could that be Austin? Could that be Central Texas? But to a child saying around here, it sounds like it's more of the immediate area.
Mm-hmm.
The victim described the girl. The girl ghost as having sizzling sound like bacon in a frying pan. That is one of the most amazing things because when I was a kid, I had similar descriptions. I described it as like dripping or spratting oil.
Mm-hmm.
As Candleface is tapping me on my shoulder at night, I could feel like little spats of hot grease. And I did an interview several months ago with a Candleface devotee, somebody who really believes in Candleface, and then he mentions about having feeling heat, while most spirits from Hollywood and paranormal videos always talk about things getting colder. But in Candleface's cases, everything seems to get hot. And then what does this spirit want? What did she want from me? She says that she wants me to let her mama and granny know that she misses and loves them. This is the only one out of all of the spirits so far actually has given me instructions. Some of them says like, help me find my body. But this is the only one so far that says, help me find a loved one and let them know that I miss them and that I love them. So, Stacey, what do you think so far? Am I full of it? Am I dreaming it? Or am I actually seeing something in a remote viewing standpoint? What do you
Well,
think?
I'm going to go with the assumption that it's real, largely because it has a consistent, structure to it. A lot of times, if your imagination is kicking in your dream, it starts to get weird, where fictitious things will blend in with the real data, where like things that you don't know will your brain will actually fill in with things that you from your past experience. To give you an example, I had a dream that I was on a paranormal investigation. Now, I've never been on a real paranormal investigation like what Rob and Sarah do.
Right.
Mine are, I'm called in as a spiritual advisor to do certain things, perform certain rituals. I'm never there to actually investigate with the equipment and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was dreaming that I was on an investigation with them, and I actually created the house of Freddy Krueger that I was walking through. And at the same time, I started segueing into Scooby-Doo. Everybody was doing Scooby-Doo stuff. They were people, they weren't cartoons. But I was, the running slappy sound that they do when they're running through the halls.
Yeah.
Cartoon sound effects were playing into the stuff that we were doing. And we were running from one room to the next room to the next room to the next room, like they do in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And that was a dream that was completely made up based off of what my brain presumed to expect at a paranormal investigation.
Yeah.
You're not doing any of that. You're being told something in an actual novel story that has structure from beginning to end.
Yeah.
That's not how dreams work. So I would say that information is real based off of that.
Yeah.
Could it be that your brain thinks differently than mine? Yeah. But at the same time, the subconscious still works the same way. So
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty interesting, and it just gets weirder from here. So who is it? Let me go full screen here.
mm-hmm.
that might be too small to actually read. It's a little too small for me to read, but a private investigator friend of mine from Washington State calls me up and says, "Hey, I saw your podcast that you did in January, I believe, on a different podcast. It's the very first one that I ever did, and I talked about victim number 2." And he watched it, and then he started doing some Google searches. He did something simple. It was like missing person Austin mobile home swing, something like that. And this is what he came up with. He came up with a Tanisha Watkins. And maybe my face is going to get really close to the camera, but I have to read it. But Tanisha last seen by her mother while playing in the front yard swing at her home at 1:30 p.m. on January 5th, 1984. She and her mother lived with her Tanisha's great-grandmother in a mobile home in Trasher Lane in Southwest Austin. Her mother was sweeping the rug inside the residence and took her eyes off of the daughter for a few minutes. When she looked again, Tanisha was gone. Her mother and neighbors searched for her for 2 hours before calling the police. And then my little slide thing is covering the rest. But according to other witnesses, they saw her walking with I think it was a tall male away from the house. So Candleface got her, or this male figure got her. So it could be that I'm wrong, and it's a different person and not Tanisha Watkins that came to me, because, or some, maybe some of the what she told me is not correct, because she is pretty young. Some of the things that she could say may not be factual. So here are some similarities. Under description, I've got missing persons report, what we just read, and then the spirit's testimony to me. And a lot of them match. So you got her race is black, and the testimony says black. Gender, female, and she appeared female to me. This is a little off, or quite off. The girl was 2 years old, but to me, she appeared to be 4 to 5 years old. Again, it could be a different person, or it could just be I'm just not good at recognizing people's ages, and I'm not. So,
well, if she was that articulate, 2-year-olds aren't articulate at all.
Yeah.
If she was that articulate, she'd have to be at least 4 to 5.
Right, but I did add some flavor to the testimony to smooth it out and to make it more comprehensible. But I did capture the gist of it. But yeah, to me, it did sound much older than a 2-year-old. Both Austin, Texas, both winter, both braided hair, both lived in a mobile home. And relatives, she lived in the mobile home with her mother and great-grandmother. And the spirit's testimony, she says, lived with mama and granny. Granny could just be the great-grandmother. I've never heard anybody say great-granny. So, and then the most disturbing similarity is, according to the missing persons report, that Tanisha was missing while playing on a swing in front of her mobile home. And that's exactly what the spirit's testimony said as well. So some very striking similarities. I really don't know what to make of it. I do. That's why I'm doing this podcast is enthusiasts, paranormal enthusiasts, and people like you that has a skill, maybe in dream interpreters or paranormal investigators, mediums. I would love for people to come in and see this, because that private investigator, I wasn't really investigating anything yet. I was just capturing the testimonies and relying on others to try to figure it out for me. And then he comes up and says, oh, this was simple. He did it within minutes. So, but there's more to it. It's like, who is the spirit that came to me the same as from the missing persons case? I think that's the mystery of, and then so what? If I actually figure it out, so what? What do I do at that point? Now, have you ever heard of the Ramsey theory?
Is this the Bible code?
Yeah, to the most part. It's mostly done in mathematics and computer science, but intelligence does it as well, mostly dealing with trying to figure out codes or even create codes. Moby Dick was ran through a Ramsey theory simulator, and they came up with all sorts of predictions. Moby Dick predicted World War II, neo-Nazis, and Nostradamus. A lot of stuff was run through it as well, and came up with all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, I would love to see that. So I decided I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run just the testimonies of book 1, all 30. I believe I had only 30 of the spirits at that time, and I put everything together. I got rid of all the punctuation, the spaces, and I capitalized every word, and I just put everything in a grid from reading left and right. And then I looked for patterns going up and down, left and right, and backwards, and to see if I can find any words, any kind of hidden messages, just like how victim number 35 was saying there are subliminal messages and hidden tracks and reverse tracks in his music. So is it possible the same thing happens here? And I came up with some pretty interesting finds. The word mama appears 3 times in the victim number 2's testimony. 9 times out of all the testimonies, all 30 testimonies at that time. And so what does mama mean? And my analysis is that it's just highlighting a deep connection and longevity for the safety and comfort associated with maternal love. There's been several of the spirits have mentioned their mothers. So is that connected? And mama, okay, it's just 4 letters, so it seems like it could happen quite often. And, finding it up and down, sideways, diagonal. Fire was found 2 times in a total of 12 times throughout all the spirits' testimonies. And fire's true cause or events might be the key to unraveling Candleface's mysteries or possible defeating her. Why fire appears 12 times? She obviously died in a fire, Candleface, because she has the melted features. Love appeared 3 times, a total of 12 times throughout all of the other spirits' testimonies. The love between the victims and the loved ones may provide an emotional counterpoint to Candleface's evil. It may even be a way to defeat Candleface. And I hate to say that. That sounds so 1980s. The devil or, some kind of ghost is just about to kill the main character. And they say, stop, I love you. And, and the monster then is destroyed. I hate to say it like that it could just be that simple. Maybe still been able to find the love. And that's why I want to concentrate on that paranormal investigator that I'm going to name nameless right now. Could be a big hint in helping me solve these cases because of the love word. Safe appears 4 times in a total of 21 times in all of the testimonies. The spirits have shown a desire to feel safe and be free from Candleface's torment. Many of the testimonies have said that, but all of them have alluded to it. The word sad 3 times, or 6 times, sorry, and then 33 times total. Okay. And the word burn, scar, night, and girl. Burn 6 times, total of 28 times throughout all the testimonies. Again, burn, fire seems to be a big theme to these lost souls. Scare found 2 times, a total of 8 times throughout all of the testimonies. Okay, and the word night found 2 times. That's a little interesting because it's much more letters you have, harder it becomes to, or harder to explain it away, right? And a total of 8 times in all the testimonies. And it could just saying that most of Candleface's activity is at night, and their spirits come to me at night. It could be a metaphor for the hidden and often terrifying messages revealed in the lost souls' testimonies, like what we're seeing here with the Ramsey theory. And girl found 3 times, total of 12 times. A lot of the victims are young girls, and is Candleface targeting vulnerable people, which are usually these younger girls. Now we're getting into a little bit more disturbing words because they're almost sentences. And home, mobile, us could be our mobile home. And this is going down. Think of it as a crossword puzzle, right? And it's just going straight down. And it could be just suggesting that it's a mobile home, aligning with the Spirit's testimony. And then also going down is I saw mama, or I saw my mama. It could just be an indication that the Spirit's memory seeing her mother. Either it could be a significant moment of comfort or trauma. And there's my granny ma, or maybe there's my granny and mama. And that is going up, which is crazy coincidence that's going up like that. And it's emphasizing the presence of both grandmother and mother figures, or it could just mean that the little girl has seen both her mother and grandmother in Candleface's hell. I mean, that's horrible to say. Is she telling me that she saw her granny and her mother? But that's unlikely because she also wanted me to go find them and let them know that she still loves them. So there's still work to be done. Like, what does that mean? Maybe she has a vision of her granny and her mother.
Well, spirits that are malevolent will use your own memories, your fondest memories against you. It will mimic not only your loved ones, whether it be your spouse, your siblings, your mother, your grandmother. They will mimic not only the voice but the look to torment you, to tell you that you're a piece of shit, to degrade you, to break you down. I mean, you've been to boot. You know what it's like to be broken down and then built back up. Well, spirits will break you down because you're much you're more delicious that way. You're tenderized.
But why? I mean, if she wants me to help her, then why would she want to tear me down? Unless this is just a big joke for Candleface, and this is how she's messing with me by putting.
I'm not saying you. I'm talking about the girl. The girl may be seeing her grandma and her mother.
I see.
Because she's being tormented.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you did bring up an interesting aspect. Candleface may be doing some of this to you in some of these visions to lead you away from, because you're getting too close to the truth. She has to lead you down a primrose path away from the actual truth, because once you start knowing things, you can actually do things. Yeah. Hey, Courtney, you can, in what we were talking about off camera last time, is identifying who Candleface really is.
Yeah.
You know, is she a djinn? Was a person who was, as she presents herself, a victim of a fire, or is she an elemental who's malevolent, who needs, you know, to eat souls in order to move forward? You know, that kind of thing. We identifying who Candleface really is, because there's going to be stories all over the world throughout history about this same spirit. If she's an elemental, even if she's a djinn, there's going to be stories. People are going to, you're not going to be the only one. You know, the Candleface story is one thing, but if it's identified by a different name someplace else, that can actually give you the ammunition you need in order to not only defend against it, but send her away, you know, protect other people from this entity.
I believe that's spot on. It is interesting that other people has sent me emails saying they've seen Candleface or heard of Candleface, and they used the name Candleface. I created that name back when I was probably between 4 and 7 years old. I don't really remember, but because she looked like a melted candle, and that was just a name I gave her. And then nobody heard the name Candleface except for a few of my close friends and my brother. But it wasn't until I wrote The Empty Lot Next Door where I actually call her Candleface. So when people talk about Candleface and they use the name Candleface, I wonder, how are they saying Candleface if they saw Candleface before 2010? Are they BSing? Or are they just using the word Candleface because that is now what they're associating it with? Or I don't know. I don't know, but
that's actually a real thing. The Conjuring did the same thing with Bathsheba. You know, the story. Did you ever see the movies, the Conjuring movies?
I think I've seen the first one. I didn't even know there were more than one, actually.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. But the Bathsheba nun with the white face is become part of pop culture now. People refer to Bathsheba as being this demonic force because they did it in the movies. People go to the Conjuring house looking for Bathsheba. There was a real person from the Conjuring house named Bathsheba, but she was nothing like portrayed in the books or in the movies. And it's sort of like people started vandalizing her grave and all this other kind of stuff because it said Bathsheba on it. But it manifests simply because more people know about it and they start invoking the name. And it can literally develop a life of its own because of one person saying it to another. And next thing you know, Candleface is just as common as the Slender Man.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I thought Toshiba was a brand of TVs or something. But I better read up on that.
Yeah, well, it's it's fiction, but they did it for the movie and to add more elements to it. But she's a nun who looks very much like Candleface with eyes.
Yeah. So this next slide here is what's next. To me, it's like, so what? Let's say if I'm right, and this is Tanisha. What next? I just can't do a background check, which I could find the mother very quickly. Do I just go knock on the door and say, hey, guess what? I know what happened to your daughter. I can't do that. Or can I? I mean, I think we talked a little bit about this last week, but to me, where do I go from here? I just don't feel comfortable. I even feel uncomfortable even just giving her name here. But at the same time, I can't go to her house. I can't call her on the phone. I do want to eventually have a podcast talking about victim number 11, where I did have a private investigator, a paranormal investigative team contact the family members of who I think victim number 11 is, and they hung up on him. And he even contacted the the police department, the detective that's in charge of that case, and never heard back. So what do I
Well,
do?
what you're doing right now is pretty much what you should be doing, largely because it's now public what you're doing, and
Yeah.
the name itself has been said. The dead do a lot of things in the background that we don't recognize on a normal daily basis, because most people don't interact with the dead. The dead interact with us by leading us into the directions that will give us peace, will give us the things that we need in order to move forward in this life. If the mother or grandmother or great grandmother are still alive and they're plagued with this guilt or this emotion still to this day, 50 years later, they will find you. I'm not kidding. They will find you, and you can then talk to them about it, because they'll know that you're actually looking into this. It's really weird on how it all happens, but it's like a butterfly effect. You do something here, and it sets things in motion behind the scenes, and then they turn around and find you. I'm not joking. It will happen if they really want to know and give more details of what you're curious about. They will get a hold of you, and that's really the best option outright, because it's like you finding out you have a kid from the 80s, from an old girlfriend in high school, and she never told you she got pregnant, and then the kid shows up on your doorstep at 40 years old saying, "Hey, Dad, what do you think?" Just out of the blue, that would freak you out.
Every time I hear the doorbell, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, it's that same kind of thing. You're dealing with a traumatic situation, and this is very tough to deal with. But if you go about it more on your passion and your obsession to discover, you're just going to tear open wounds that haven't really healed yet. And I've never seen it work out well. All of the missing kid stuff, they actively look for people to help them find their kids, and then when they do, they just lose their shit right then and there. You think that's what they want for the closure and all the stuff they tell you about on TV, but it's not the case. They still have hope that their child is out there somewhere, and when it's confirmed, they just lose their shit. That's what that age progression thing was for in the first place. If you saw the picture that showed her at 2 years old and then put her at 38,
right?
Once she turns 18, it really doesn't matter anymore, because she doesn't know anything. She's not going to go looking for her mom if she lived that long, because she has developed another family or another story about who is her parents. She's not even going to look. But at 38, that age progression, that was for the living family to keep an eye out for that little glimmer of hope that they had in their heart for this person could be out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And you destroy that with saying her spirit visited you, they're going to lose their shit.
Yeah, I think so. So as you were talking, something came up. I maybe it was just a memory or something, but I started thinking more about this Lulling case, victim number 35. I started off the podcast with this guy, and I started thinking, it just like a flash, that house. I'm not saying it was a remote viewing type of thing or any kind of paranormal. It just came to my head. It was like a house. So on Salt Flat Road, is where I think at least 3 of these Candleface victims are buried under the floorboards. And I believe this Jason Landry or somebody with a very similar case is potentially buried there as well. But I'm not saying it is him. It just sounds so familiar or similar, just like how the little black girl, it sounds so much like the victim that came to me. But what I see is it's a house or maybe a garage with wooden planks, like on cinder blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And the cinder blocks are not even straight. I mean, they're just like crudely put together.
Are the planks horizontal or vertical?
Yeah, just horizontal. Just
Horizontal?
going. Yeah.
Like a barn?
No. White, mossy, just
Okay.
going. And okay, so if it's mossy, so moss grows on the north side? Is that how that goes?
Well, it's the northeast side. So
Okay.
you can get it on the north and you can get on the east because the sun in the early morning dew is where they get their moisture.
Okay. So the interesting thing is when the spirit came to me and I wrote everything down and I'm typing away. It was probably 3:20, 3:30 when I was typing it, and I'm in the groove. And then I had just this crazy urge to get to that house. I had to get to that house, and it's only about a 2-hour drive from my house. I had to get there, and I just had that crazy urge, and I was an hour away, and then I called my friend that lives in Austin, that best friend growing up. He lived down the street. He is Mark in the book, The Empty Lot Next Door. I changed most people's names, so I called him up, and he's begging me to stop, like not to go. And I'm just curious. I want to try something. Well, of course, it's just my 3rd episode, but I want to actually try calling him and see because I haven't talked to him since we did this. Let's see if you could even hear it.
Can a little bit.
Romo Taco Shack, how may I take your order?
Romo Taco Shack, huh? Hey, so I have you on the podcast. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
So
that's right. I thought it was tomorrow. You doing it today?
Yeah. We're almost done. So I only have a few minutes left.
Okay, cool.
But I was telling him, Stacey here, the remote viewer.
Oh yeah. Hey, Stacey, how's it going? My name's Michael Romo. I guess if I already told you, I'm Mark in the book. We've known each other for 45 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
We're old.
And Stacey, you can hear this okay?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, good. So, Michael, when I called you, I was like in a trance, right? And I was saying, hey, I'm an hour from Lulling. That's an hour for you. Meet me there. And I think it was like 4:30 or so in the morning.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't even really remember. All I remember is I had to get there. I was like hypnotized or like in a trance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I told you when you called, I was like, no, don't do it. Man. To me, it sounded like a trap to get you. Because I was like, like I've told you before, it's like, my beliefs are a little different. I'm more thinking like they're trying to trap you into it. I mean, they're playing on your to me at least, it was like playing on your want to try to help the spirits, and that's why when you're saying that you're going out there by yourself to the house, I was like, no, don't do that. I mean, it's up to me. It's like it sounds like a trap. You know, so like, you know, it was more like, you know, you had that adrenaline rush. You were trying to, you know, they gave you that adrenaline to try to get there. It's like, no. So I was like, dude, don't do it, especially by yourself. I mean, if I get there within an hour, I mean, still, you'll probably get there sooner. That's why I was like, nah, turn back. And good thing you did. Otherwise, you would have been a permanent fixture in the floorboards like we were talking about that from the thing. I mean, it's just, it ain't right. It was just crazy.
I don't think
your voice too. I mean, your voice sounded off too. That's why I was like, normally you know, we talking, you're kind of like, dude, I'd go get your car, meet me there. And I was like, you don't sound the same. It sounded like it was just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think though it was an adrenaline rush. It was like I'll just hypnotize. I just had to get there.
And basically, the adrenaline rush is being hypnotized, pretty much same thing. I mean, it's playing on your want to help people.
But,
so I mean, it's like, you know, you're excited that you got this new lead on, you know, possible, you know, a spirit you could help out. I mean, and like
but why would they trap me then? If I'm there to help them, why trap me? Or would I become under the floorboards?
But to me, I would think it would be another, because now you're doing podcasts and stuff. You got the books, and what better way to get more attention than having you disappear? Or if they, you know, maybe you might be the one that they do find. You know, Candleface allows you to be found. You're dead there in the house or something. Then what else? How else? You know, I mean, that'd be a good way for her to get more, you know, for lack of a better word, publicity for herself. You know, more believers.
Yeah.
I mean, because like all this time I'm telling you is like, it's kind of crazy. I mean, that they want your help, and she's allowing this. To me, it seems like there may be an ulterior motive on her part, you know, Candleface's part, and this could have been her way of getting you in, and then you become the poster child for believing Candleface.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I was talking about before, trying to find out who she is, identifying her real name, her real origin, because there will be ways of counter-measuring in you know, Palomayombe, which is African, deep, dark Africa, voodoo-like magic. There is a huge pantheon of spirits that all have their own aspects and their own, you know, strengths and weaknesses and things of that kind that are known. If you know what they are, you can, like a chemistry set, put the right concoction of things together and, you know, not only form a wall of protection, but defense against anything that she might do. She knows your weaknesses clearly because she got you in a hypnotized state and got you in behind the wheel. She knows your weaknesses to be able to motivate you when she wants to do things. You need to be able to do the same thing in reverse. Know what her weaknesses are. Know who she really is, to essentially prevent her from doing the things that she's been doing. Because I guarantee you, she's not an unknown entity. We just don't know what her real name is.
Yeah.
You still there?
Yeah.
They always help out to try to help people. And it's like, I can tell them, it seems like what it seems like she's allowing these spirits to seek his help, and he's doing good, and it's her way, I'm thinking, of the spirit or demon's way of getting to him. And it's like, you know, there's that one the interview you did with that guy that lives in the old neighborhood, and he was saying, oh no, she's a good person, she helps out. Well, that's what demons do. They pull that veil of deception over your eyes, and they're helping you till they get you in the right spot, and bam, they got you. That's what I was saying, you know, with the whole going to the house thing by yourself. You know, seems like she's helping, or, you know, allowing these spirits or to come to you, and you could have been another victim. And like, you know, Stacey was just saying, I mean, there's all kinds of demons and spirits from around the world, I mean, that crave, you know, human, you know, interaction or attention to get power from us, however you want to put it. And Like you were saying to you, she knows you since you were a kid, so she got
not only that, but she's got an army of people that are probably mentally ill under her influence that she can get them to do her bidding, physically. So even if Candleface can't touch you personally, for whatever reason, she can get other people to do it because she's got an army of crazy people to do things for her. And, and we're talking Luling, Texas, where there's probably a pretty good share of them there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mike, I appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.
Cool. And I'll look at repost up the broadcast. Like I said, I thought it was tomorrow, so I'll watch it from the beginning when you post it on Facebook or YouTube or something.
Yeah, it's going to be on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll talk to you later then.
All righty. See you.
All right, later.
All right. Yeah, very, very interesting story. I don't know really how to explain it, but I do appreciate your insight. And I like the idea of you saying, I got to be able to do the same thing to her. Because that fits on how I fought Candleface during the empty lot next door as a kid. I learned how to control my dreams and fly left, fly right. And I was able to actually start taking her on more. And that just infuriated her. Maybe by Michael telling me to go home, that infuriated her as well. Now, Michael has always been that second, the id factor, you got the good versus the evil on the both of the shoulders type. And he's always been that guy, like, don't do it, do this, don't do that type of thing. So,
we all gotta have that guy in our life, Yeah.
So it was good that he was there for that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I do want to do a selfish plug. Let me see if I can figure out. Still learning this software. Nope, that ain't it. Where is... Okay, that's not it either. All right, where did it go? I spent all this time putting it together.
There you go.
No, that was not even it. Oh, okay. I think it was banners. All right. So the Lost Souls book 1 is going to be free for the next 4 days on Amazon, the ebook. So that's a good time just to go. And if you can't write down that URL quick enough, then you can just look for Candleface Chronicles, The Lost Souls on Amazon, and you can get the ebook for free.
Nice.
Amazon only allows me to do it for 4 to 5 days, or 5 days total. So, but I'm doing it for 4. So if you want it, if any of the listeners out there, this is a good chance to get it for free. Free is always good. So any last comments there, Stacey? Any suggestions?
Yeah. Have you looked into, we briefly talked about AI last weekend, or last week in regards to the voice, but image generators now are word prompt. So you can find an AI image generator and put in your keywords, your descriptor words into the word prompt and see what AI will pull out, because it actually pulls from the real world to create these things based off of those keywords. Similar to your investigator guy, you just typed in a few words into the search and that girl came up. Your descriptor words of like the house could actually create what you were are looking at, because it is in the consciousness, it's in the zeitgeist, and AI is now pulling that stuff out. It's really creepy, but I've been playing with it with the remote viewing, and it is scary on how well some of this stuff is coming up out of AI based off of the descriptors that I'm, generating in the session. So that's a suggestion. You can play with it and see what that, does. But I think overall, discovering who Candleface really is going to be the ultimate goal, because you can't do anything with the other souls, the other spirits, until you know what power essentially the Candleface has.
Yeah, and that's why I divided my research or investigation in two parts. You got Candleface, the Lost Souls, and Candleface Genesis. I was meaning to do both at the same time, but I have so many of these spirits come to me so often, 35 of them in, 8 months. I don't have much time to actually get much done looking into her.
That may be part of the plan. It's you get overwhelmed with all this other stuff that you can't, actually figure out what's going on. And some of them may be the same spirits over and over again. They're just changing their identity in a mimic way, based off of people who have died. That's been known to happen too in investigations. People who have died are used as a front for malevolent spirits, and it's not that person. It's a malevolent spirit who is mimicking, because they know when somebody crosses over, they know. They just, take that information and project that onto the investigators. It's something that I found to be rather weird and creepy. They've even used my voice. They've mimicked me at investigations with Rob and Sarah over the devices that they have, the EVPs, and it's not me. I'm not projecting my soul out. I'm not doing telepathy. I'm not doing any projection whatsoever. It's another spirit who's using me as an authority to them, so they respect and respond. So we may be seeing some of that, not all of it, but some of it may be that Candleface doing a fake out.
Okay. All right. Well, Stacey, I appreciate it. I'm just a little over my time. 8 minutes over. I don't think there is any podcast right after mine, so I don't feel too bad. But
yeah, we're good.
Yeah. But I appreciate it, and I'd like to have you back on as I have more of these spirits come to me. Hopefully, I can start getting better at recognizing faces, recognize clothing, maybe determining times, eras. And because I'm already getting more details, I'm getting names and address, mostly addresses and street names. So
every little detail is important. Nothing is just half asked information. It is, every little detail is important, or else it wouldn't be presented to you. Being able to record it, in the details that you need, that's a totally different story. That's all on you. But the details that you're presented, it's all important.
Actually, I don't know why I didn't think about this before. You just said recording it. Maybe that's what I need to do. Is I have a pretty badass camera, 4K camera. I can just put it on a tripod and just put it over the couch where I sleep, and just do that every night and see if it picks up anything.
Even voice activated recorder, the handheld digital recorders, while you sleep, it doesn't record. And as soon as you wake up, you can just start talking and it will record whatever it is that you're saying. That was one thing that I was doing early on with trying to do dream interpretation. I suck at it. I was never good at it. but I recorded stuff just so I wouldn't forget it by the time I actually became cognizant. And it was effective as far as the device is concerned. So even the voice activated digital recorders that they use in these investigations. Paranormal investigators love the hell out of these things. And you have one set next to your bed. You don't even have to get up. You can just start talking from your pillow.
Yeah. I got so many toys from being a private investigator. I could find something.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting because if the videos or the audio equipment doesn't pick up anything, but I still have the vision, then we can say, oh, that was a dream. I mean, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means it was in a dream form. But if it actually has a video of me sitting up or talking to a figure, then of course that would be the first ever in the history of the world that there's actual evidence like that.
Yeah.
Well,
perceive and record. That is all remote viewing is perceive and record. If you can record it and not wait until, you've had time to let it marinate, you can catch more data. And this, like I said before, every piece of data is important,
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching the third episode. I'm going to go back to Thursdays next week. I did Thursday last week, and there was just a small handful because it was during the presidential debate. And I didn't want to do the podcast tomorrow because that's 4th of July. Everyone's going to be popping fireworks. So I didn't want to compete with that.
My normal show, the Ask Stacey stuff, is on an hour before you, and it typically runs long. So if you need me on your show, I may come in a little later. But, I every other Thursday, and next Thursday would be, not tomorrow, but next Thursday would be my show.
Okay. Outstanding. All right, everybody. And remember, it's better to believe just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good night.
See you later. Peace.